us. Although, I think considering the topic, we could have had it with a much bigger crowd than we have right now, but we'll make do with it. It's really an important topic, and I think it's close to all our hearts. Every one of us, at least sitting in the panel, wants to see India becoming the next hub for electronics manufacture for the globe, uh, similar to what China has become. And we have a really eminent panel here today, and it's my privilege to actually moderate a panel which is so eminent. Everybody has multiple years, multiple decades of experience in electronics manufacturing, and are pioneering each segment in the electronics manufacturing space. So I'll give you a quick introduction of the people sitting here, and we have one more panelist who's still to come, but we'll start off in the interest of time, and I'll just go by one. We have Mr. Sunil Kumar Varma, who's the Joint Secretary in Telecom. He comes with about 25 years of experience in administrative management and technical fields. He's worked at both the senior management level and management level in various departments in railways and telecommunications. And he was just giving us a lowdown on how BharatNet is going to change the country and change the face of this country forever. That'll be interesting to hear. And so he actually initiated the Unified Vendor Approval Module for the, it was a vendor development initiative. So thank you for being here, Mr. Varma. We have Mr. Sunil Dutt. Needs no introduction, 30 years of experience across HP, name the brand, name the electronics brand. I mean, there's HP, there's BlackBerry, Samsung, turned around Samsung to make it one of the largest mobile companies here in India, and now with the president of Reliance Jio. So thank you for being here. We have Mr. Sanjeev Chabra from BTEL. He's the managing director and CEO. And again, I think one fact that changed during our conversation is he said that they're exporting to about 34 countries from India right now across telecom equipment and telecom devices. So great to have you here, Mr. Chabra. Thank you. Mr. Manoj Gurnani is not here. We'll wait for him to come and then give him an introduction. Dr. Ravi Bhatkal, 10 patents, managing multiple EMS companies here in India. Element Solutions, he's the managing director for McDermott Alpha. And one of the most important companies that needs to be here, supplying materials in the semiconductor and electronic space. And I'd love to see your companies be really, really successful, right? Where semiconductor fabs in India or OSATs or ATMPs and PCB companies, really buy from companies like yours that can make it grow, right? And so thank you for being here. Mr. Rajiv Gunju from Luminous Power Technologies. Again, like I said, multiple decades of experience. He's over 30 years, both international and India experience, business strategy, lean manufacturing, quality processes, name it, he's been a part of it. He was with Videocon earlier, and multiple awards to his name, of course. And right now, I think manages about 5 or 6 manufacturing plants across the country in Himachal, Uttaranchal, Tamil Nadu, and Telangana and Odisha also. So thank you, Mr. Gunju, for being here. Srimati Asha Nangia, again from the Ministry of Electronics and IT. They've been at the forefront of changing the electronics manufacturing scenario for India. The multiple policies and reforms that they've brought in have sort of paved the way for electronics to grow here. The PLI schemes, the IMC schemes, and now Specs 2.0, all of them have played a role in growing electronics manufacturing. So we'd love to hear from her too. Thank you, Ms. Nangia, for being here. Mr. Gagan Bansal, the president of TDK India Private Limited. And one of the things that he spoke about before coming here, what Intel is to chips is what TDK is to passive electronics, right? And that's a really interesting thing to hear. And again, I'd love to see TDK actually becoming successful in India and paving the way for in the component manufacturing to grow here, right? Uh, Mr. E. Srinivas is the Joint Secretary for Logistics in the Department of Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade, Ministry of Commerce. Uh, has been part of the whole PM Gati Shakti program, and I have personal experience with that when I was working with the Ministry of Highways under NHAI, and that has really changed how things occur in this country, right? Now, how things move and how quickly things move in terms of approvals and sanctions and everything. So thank you so much for being here. Mr. Manoj Gurnani, thank you. Just a minute. Right. Mr. Manoj Gurnani is the head of strategy and CTO for Nokia India. Again, comes with over 28 years of experience. Nokia, Ericsson, Hughes, Siemens, and several others. Has led a lot of big ticket services deals in Airtel, Vodafone, Reliance Jio, and has built Corient India from scratch. So again, a wealth of experience over there. Thank you for being here, sir. So let's begin. Let's begin by talking about why India is going to be the next hub for electronics manufacturing. See, with the rise of digital consumers, the global electronics companies are making it their hub here. Indian companies have started expanding or showing their presence in electronics manufacturing. Sectors are going to rise to about $300 billion, surge in the number of companies that are coming in. But let's hear from them, how do they see India moving in this space? So let's to start off with, I'd like to call on Mr. Verma to give a few points on this.
Yeah, to the companies world over, they are looking at India as the next manufacturing hub for the electronic goods. The government of India has set a target of say some $300 billion for the manufacturing of electronic goods by 2025-26. And it is a big opportunity for the companies across the globe to set the manufacturing base here. In fact, India has become a signing spot as far as the manufacturing of telecom equipments, networking equipments are concerned. And the reason is that there is a huge telecom subscriber base available in the country. 1.17 telecom subscribers we have here. And the government aims that the telecom access should reach the entire citizen. I mean, all 1.4 billion population should have the telecom access. If we see the 4G footprint, it is roughly around 99% as on date, and for making it 100%, government is putting in $380 million rupees of money to make it 100%. And further, taking the digitalization of India to a new height and using this 5G, the benefits of 5G. Last year, our Honorable Prime Minister, he inaugurated the launch, he launched the 5G services, and in a very short span of say 11 months, the 5G rollout is fastest in the world, in the India. All 700 plus districts have been covered and 3.6 lakh. In fact, it is 4 lakh 5G sites which have become operational as our Honorable Prime Minister covered today. So for making the country a manufacturing hub, government has taken a lot of initiatives. Lot of reforms have been done to make this telecom sector as a shining sector. I will name few of them. These reforms include the structural reforms, procedural reforms, and the relief measures. So a few of them I would just mention, like the transparent auction of spectrum. Last year, 1.5 lakh crore in record 42 days, and without a single question, without a single hitch, without a single any kind of doubt. In addition, allotment of uh, spectrum allocation letters in 24 hours of the auction. In fact, Mr. Sunil Bharti Mittal mentioned it in one forum that we did not imagine the government functioning in such a way that we pay the money in the morning and we get allotment in the second half. I mean, this was the kind of revolution which has taken place in telecom sector. So, I mean, these things are propelling the environment in the country to make it a kind of ease of doing business. So if you see that, so some 107 compliance burdens they have been reduced or removed for making ease of doing business actually in the field. Government has freed, they have de-licensed certain frequency bands for the manufacturing to happen, for the innovation to happen, for the R&D to happen. And in addition, for the 5G deployment, the Indian Telegraph Right of Way rules, it was originally in 2016, but it was amended in 2022, and this year also it has been amended for the faster deployment of 5G, because street furnitures, we have all street furnitures available there across the country. So we need that for proliferation of this 5G cells. So that have been amended, they have been permitted, and a lot of relaxation have been given in those rules. So in fact, one PM Gati Shakti Sanchar portal has been launched. It was launched in last year. So the purpose was to simplify, to make the application process easier, to get the approval in a easy and faster manner. And you will be surprised to know that the approval time, it has come down from 230 days before launch of this portal to only 9 days after launch of this portal. So all these things, they are making a kind of a very positive environment for in the country for everything to grow, including the manufacturing. Thank you.
Mr. Rama, thank you so much. I think, people need to hear about this a lot more to really appreciate the kind of thing that the government is doing. But I'd like to move to the industry right now and get their views also. So, Mr. Dutt, if you don't mind talking to us about, you've been a part of multiple brands, right? So you've seen over the last 30 years how things have changed. So why do you think India is an attractive destination right now than it was earlier?
Let me cover that in three parts. And one being the infrastructure, and I won't talk the kind of infrastructure that Mr. Verma was just talking about, but from a consumer perspective, and the other being the government, and the third being consumer stroke market. So let's look at it, what happened over the last few years, especially in the last 7 years since we pioneered at Reliance Jio, we pioneered the 4G revolution in the country. We saw that as the right thing to do for the country, and we saw that there was that huge hunger for connectivity and the huge hunger for internet access. And that's why we decided that we'll move with what was a new technology at that point of time. So what has happened over the last 7 years is that 4G got proliferated, and as he said, 99% already covered, and now moving into 5G and the next phases of technology. So when you look at this is clearly creating an infrastructure, and has created an infrastructure where you notice that smartphone penetration has boomed in this country. But not just smartphones, you look at all the other electronics categories, whether it is connected TVs, whether it is laptops, whether it is all other electronic categories which are going to lead to a connected life for a consumer. All of those have grown, and grown significantly. And now we are talking about all the IoT devices as well. So one is, this infrastructure is growing, and growing at a very rapid pace. Given the progress that the country is making in terms of its economy and strength, that is adding, and that is sort of aiding it in a manner which is unprecedented. People thought that post-COVID, there'll be a time to recover, but we've seen hockey stick kind of growths in terms of optics of these product categories. And even in terms of the connected cars and automobiles. So across spectrum, if you notice, this infrastructure is growing. Now this, when supported with all the government policies, starting with the whole China plus one strategy, which globally organizations are adopting now, plus government making it so much easier, whether it is through the efforts of the PMS, the PLI, and all other benefits which the government is giving, that is again making it attractive for customers, for the companies to try and address this large market which is in this country. And then comes the consumer, the end consumer or the market, which today is not just about consuming these devices, but it's also about what they are doing with these devices and what they are working with. So all, whether you look at the startups, whether you look at the technology startups which have come in, whether you look at the e-commerce as a platform, whether you look at unified payments interface across the country. So everything is going digital. The learning is going digital. The healthcare is going digital. And now with 5G proliferation happening across the country, this is only going to grow. Whether it is in the health sector, whether it is in the finance sector, whether it is in other manufacturing industries across, this is going to impact. So this, I would say, is just the beginning, which makes it very, very attractive for India to become a manufacturing hub for the world. It, I think, was a matter of time when somebody recognized this opportunity and made sure that it was driven. And it's driven right from the top. So it's I would say, it has definitely become, India has definitely become a manufacturing, destination for the world.
Great, thank you so much. I think so we heard the government angle, we've heard the consumer angle. Let's go down a little bit to hear about the telecom infrastructure and the materials angle to it. So, Mr. Gurnani, if you can take the mic and speak a little bit from your perspective, why do you see India becoming such an attractive destination?
Thank you. I think let me start with the policy making. Sunil already alluded to the PLI schemes. So we actually have a Nokia Chennai factory which has been functioning for the past 15 years. So when we believed in PLI day one. So when PLI 1.0 arrived, we invested, we committed. Soon PLI 2.0 came. We did a business gain and we quickly migrated to PLI 2.0 because it made much more sense. And we did our business case for India and we figured out that we'll make continued investments for the next 5 years. I think it's a great policy. So that's one. The second thing which has really helped is ease of doing business in terms of taking permissions, in terms of seeking appointment with the regulatory. I think it's super easy now, right? There is absolutely no red tapeism, and I'm saying this with a lot of conviction. The third is, if I look at my Chennai factory, there is huge amount of Gen Z population. India today has more than 400 million young people, brimming with ideas, huge innovation, lot of energy, lot of passion. And so I think that's another factor which is making India as a very, very attractive location. And last but not the least, I think the focus on ESG aspects, environment. And I'm very proud to say that our Chennai facility, almost 88% of the power is green. So we actually have a captive facility of around 2 megawatts plus. So 88% is green. We have a target to make it 100% in the next 18 months. So all this was possible only because of a lot of policy push and a lot of favorable environment all across. So,
great. Thank you, Mr. Gurnani. If you could hand the mic to Dr. Ravi Bhatkar, just like to get his perspective from the materials sciences side also.
Okay. Thanks, Avinash, and thanks to the organizers for inviting me to be part of this. So we are a advanced materials and specialty chemicals company. We've been in India as a manufacturing multinational since 1931. So this is our 92nd year manufacturing in India. So we've seen waves of changes over time, but I can say that a few things um, are have catalyzed are catalyzing what makes this very attractive as a destination for manufacturing. Few things were already mentioned. Infrastructure has improved dramatically over the last 10 years in all aspects. Um, Second is that the financialization of savings is just beginning. So if you look at the savings rate in India, it is now 31% of GDP. And the financialization is just actually beginning. That coupled with a strong banking system, which has strengthened over the last 10 years, is going to bring down the cost of capital in the country, which had been previously an issue. I think that is going to help a lot. Government policy has really catalyzed a lot of investment, both domestically and coming in from the outside. And I would say that these are some of the factors that are really dramatically accelerating what's happening here. We are a multinational. We operate in about 50 countries globally, and we view India as obviously a very strategic market. We have for a long time, and that notion has only accelerated recently. So, we have continued to invest, and that investment will only accelerate over time. I would say that from one of the big imperatives is ecosystem building in India. We've got device and end product manufacturing. We're working our way back into board assembly, and then now more into just beginning to go into packaging, and then there's our ambitions to put a fab, etc. here. One of the things that does need to happen around this is that the ecosystem needs to be built, to support each of these nodes coming in, and so the opportunity is tremendous because the growth is very clearly going to is already justifying that investment. There's no doubt about it. So I expect a lot of companies to already come in, those who are here to invest a lot more, and so on. So I hope that helps.
Thanks, Gagan. But I just want to go to Gagan Bansal because he mentioned component ecosystem, and you form a big part of that, right? Just to get you up, and I was very excited after listening to you in the lounge. Just a few sentences of why you find India attractive right now.
So, Avinash, as all the panelists have said, I'll put it in 4 or 5 basic points. One, because of the strength of 1400 million people that we have in our country, that is the largest consumer base. Of course, there could be one more country which would be comparable, but then we are a large force to reckon with. So we have the largest market. If you look at any company, they talk of business. So whenever you talk of business, you need a market. So India is one of the largest markets. Point number one. Point number two, if you have to set up a manufacturing, you need scale. Okay? You need scale of production. You need land, building, machinery, people, everything, logistics. Even if people talk about other countries like Indonesia, Thailand, Vietnam, there could be alternatives. No other country except India, apart from China, can offer the scale that we offer. So for example, when we do components, we export 80% of our produce. So that is the scale. And any components manufacturing facility would not come for less than 100 or 200 million dollars. So the amount of investment which goes in with a capex to output ratio of 1:1.5 or something, scale is very important, and India offers that scale. Now the question is that India always had the population, India always had the scale. So what has changed now? Why is it only now? So then the answer lies in the vision of the government, which is there, which has come in now, which is very heartening and very impressive. And we saw this in full mood even in the morning inaugural session. Now, even if the vision is there, it has to be implemented. So the next phase is even implementation from the government. by way of various PLI schemes, PEC schemes, ease of doing business, dispersing the money, everything and the intent. We have three government officials on the panel. They're very forthcoming on each and every momentum. So that is helping us. Now, there is another underlying factor, which makes it happen. This is a very fast change in technology. The amount and the pace at which technology is changing today was never there in the past. Maybe in future it is even faster. I cannot predict. But yes, technology is changing every 6 months, every 1 year. We never heard about AI. We never heard about machine learning, IoT devices, robotics, or in medical or robotics in other areas 5 years ago. So technology. I think all these things put together form a great mix why India is the most sought after destination for electronics manufacturing.
Great, thank you so much. Just going to change tracks a bit here. What we want to do is we want to talk about the government policy initiatives and the reforms that the government has made a little more in detail than what we heard earlier. So at first, then we'll get the industry perspective of how they've seen those reforms, and also to add more to it. There's always more to add to it, right? We're still just scratching the surface right now. So let's look at what the government has done first, then look at what the industry wants. I mean, it's like the Pepsi ad, right? Ye dil mange more all the time. So we want more and more from the government. But let's hear what they've done first. So Ms. Asha Nangi, if you could take the mic, please.
Adding to what Mr. Bansal has said, that definitely India is a big market, and that is a lucrative for the manufacturers to set up their businesses in India. So that is the first thing. And today in the geopolitical situation, all the manufacturers, big manufacturers or the MNCs, they are looking for China plus one location. That is another point which makes India a preferred location for setting up their manufacturing locations. Keeping these two aside, now I would like to tell you something about why India. So now India, if you see to it, that India has seen an unprecedented growth in the electronics manufacturing during the last 8 years. So as of now, we see that our production has gone up to 101 billion. That is the industry estimates. And if we compare it with the last 8 years, our CAGR is around 17%. So our production is going at a rate of 17%, and industry and if we go by the industry norms, they say that the initiatives that the ministry is taking, the government is taking, the conducive policies that they have, the ease of business policies, the incentive schemes they are launching, we can grow at a rate of CAGR of 25%. So that is what the industry feels. Coming back, the Honorable PM has a vision of 1 trillion economy for India, and Ministry of Electronics and IT has set up a ambitious target of 300 billion by 25-26. So when you say 300 billion by 25-26, we are already in the end of 23. So that gives manufacturers a very comfortable position that yes, they can invest in India, they can do business in India, they can expand their businesses. Now, we have a national policy on electronics. We had formulated this earlier in 2009 and then in 2012. That is to promote the electronics manufacturing in the country. So when we say that this national policy on electronics, this envisions India positioning as a global hub for manufacturing of electronic goods, and also by encouraging and driving the capabilities for the ecosystem also, design and the components also, including the chipsets. So that is a broad vision. We are not saying that we would be producing for India only for the captive market. We are saying that we should produce for the world, for India and also for the world. And we should produce the finished goods as well as the components, including the chipsets. Now, when we say that we have policies, and the industry is the one who has to manufacture the products. So we, resonating with the industry demands, we have formulated very conducive policies, incentive schemes, like we say modified special incentive package scheme way back in 2012 to promote the manufacturing of finished goods. So at that time, if you see to it that India, there was very little manufacturing of finished goods. So we thought, okay, even if industry starts assembling in the country, that would be good enough. Then we launched another scheme called special promotion of scheme for components and semiconductors. That is, we want to build the components also in the country. Otherwise, what will happen is we'll continue to import the components from the border sharing countries or from the world, and our value addition would be limited to assembling only. Similarly, when we say that, okay, we have components manufacturing, we have finished goods manufacturing, but maybe some companies would like to have ready-built sheds or the clusters where the infrastructure is already there, or all the approvals sought by the government are already there. So we have launched electronic manufacturing cluster schemes 1.0 and 2.0 also, that to set up the infrastructure required for this. Now, these were some kind of schemes that we have notified, and including some non-tariff measures also. When we say that we want to curb the import of substandard goods from other countries, we want that our consumers should have the access to quality goods, and we should be able to stop the substandard goods which are unsafe. Now, coming back and how we are how the manufacturing in India is growing. When we say that our production is now 101 billion, if we see to in 2017-18, it was 60 billion only. So we are growing at a rate of 17%. It's not that our import is not growing. Our import at that time was around 56 billion, which is nowadays around 76 billion. So import is also growing, but it is growing at a CAGR of 12.7%. And our exports, with the whatever the interventions that government has taken, our export has grown from 6 billion to 24 billion. And now coming back to the success stories of our manufacturing. So as you know that Ministry of Electronics has notified the production linked incentive scheme for large scale electronics. We commonly call as a PLI for mobile phones. So we had launched it in 2016, and it has become a torch bearer for the country. Today, if we see to it, that India has become the second largest manufacturer for the mobile phones, and we are producing around 45 billion worth of mobile phones in the country. We were only producing 6 crore in earlier, and now we are producing 45 crores mobile phones. And if we see to the imports targets, mobile phones, we say that only 5% of the mobile phones are now imported. The rest of the domestic demand is already being met by the domestic manufacturing. Since we cannot manufacture everything, that 5% will always be there. Earlier, when we say that in 2014, we had 6 companies for manufacturing of mobile phones only. Now, we have more than 200 companies which are manufacturing the mobile phones or their chargers and different things. And we are the biggest manufacturers of now, exporters of chargers and the PCBA for mobile phones also. And we are also exporting the mobile phones in the country. So this is one of the torchbearer, and this was the first PLI that Ministry of Electronics and IT has notified. Subsequently, we have also notified the PLI scheme for the IT hardware. And we had notified it recently. And earlier the scheme, there were some lacunas in that. So we have revamped the scheme, and now we have received a very good response for that. And we hope that that will be able to promote the manufacturing of laptops and servers and those goods in the country. Similarly, if we see to it, Semicon India, that is for the manufacturing of chips. So government has announced a scheme for 10 billion for semicon manufacturing across all the nodes, and we are giving incentives of 50% on pari passu basis for setting up those manufacturing. So at this junction, if you see that yes, India is evolving as a great hub for manufacturing of electronic goods and the components and the whole ecosystem, it gives an opportunity to all the manufacturers across the world to expand, to diversify, and they upgrade their manufacturing and come and invest in India to join hands with the government. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. That is, Mr. Srinivas, just get your perspective from the DPIIT on how you see policy being the catalyst for this particular sector.
Thank you, Avinash, and hello to all my fellow panelists. First of all, I'll talk from DPIIT point of view, how we are taking basically now the ease of doing business has been changed to the business enabling environment. The new terminology has come into being nowadays. So First of all, I'd like to say that our department deals in two things. There is a logistic policy and the PM Gati Shakti. Now I'd like to just make you understand a little bit about the PM Gati Shakti. So as a part of the PM Gati Shakti National Master Plan, basically the plan is to interconnect, provide a integrated multimodal transport for connecting all the economic zones. So the principle is the earlier also you may tell that infrastructures works were progressing earlier also. So what is the big difference? The big difference is earlier all the departments infrastructure major, that means the railways, roadways, power, telecom, shipping, MOPNG, Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas, all the departments were working in isolation. So what this PM Gati Shakti National Master Plan, which was launched in October 2021, now we are celebrating 2 years of that National Master Plan. So what we did was, the whole of the infrastructure in the nation has been mapped on a GIS platform. You will be it's very satisfying for all of us to note that all the infrastructure, whether it is roads, highways, shipping infrastructure, tourist infrastructure, railways, stations, whatever you name, the power, the transmission lines, all have been mapped on a single PM Gati Shakti National Master Plan with the geolocation. And it has been done on an indigenous platform which is developed by BISAC and in Gandhinagar. So the advantage of this is, after that we have set up a network planning group which consists of members from all the ministries, and whenever any new project comes for more than 500 crores, all the members sit together and evaluate the plan, seeing whether the plan takes care of, suppose there is a requirement of the Ministry of Oil and Natural Gas to lay a pipeline, then they will say that you leave 2 meters for us beyond the road. Then if the land is passing through a forest, then they will tell that the Ministry of Forest will tell, can you little bit tweak that so that the wildlife is not affected. And the whole purpose of whatever we spend the money, each taxpayer's money that goes into the infrastructure, we see that the maximum benefit is according to all the people. Now what I'm telling, why I'm driving this point is, ultimately the supply chain of the logistics, that means transportation of goods and all, whatever you manufacture, that supply chain has to be, supply chain should be considered, and there should be resilience in the supply chain. And all these things will lead into the de-risking of our investment. So basically we look after this, and we are already a national logistics policy was also launched subsequently in 2022. So in that there were 6 principles which we deal with it. One is we see that all the processes of the businesses, they are digitized. Like we introduced a logistic data bank in which we are tracking all the containers, in the million of containers throughout the country. And then we have got skill and capacity building for all the, if you don't have the skill and capacity building and you're creating a logistics sector, then that won't be of much use. So we are also developing a skill. We have introduced a logistic course in all the IITs and a new Gati Shakti Vishwavidyalaya has been created where the logistic course has been created. We are doing engagement with the state also, so that the states are also in board. Ultimately, in a federal form of government, ultimately without the support of state, we will not be able to do anything. So that's the thing we are doing it. I'll further deal with it when we come next time.
Thank you, Mr. Srinivas. I just want to get the industry to chip in right now. Pass the mic to Mr. Rajiv. Can you give us your perspective on where do you see these policy initiatives in the reform stand today, and what more should we be doing to grow this particular sector?
Good afternoon, and thank you for this question. And I think a lot of it has been deliberated already. So first, like little bit, I'll give the background is that need. So I've seen our Honorable Prime Minister always say, "Yahi waqt hai, sahi waqt hai." So after COVID, we have seen resilience. We just heard about resilience. So if we talked about the global supply chain hub, that people always used to look at one country as the global supply chain hub. But COVID also taught, the geopolitical situation also taught that another hub is very important. That need is not only coming from inside, but outside also. Wherever we go today, everybody is excited that we want to open manufacturing setup in India. And today I'll tell you, even in our organization, that there's a bid that where we have to open a manufacturing setup. Many countries do that bid. And we have seen that we are winning that bid today. We also talked about infrastructure. We are doing good. Processes, we are simplifying them. Relief is being provided. Then I'll come to Avinash's question, ye dil mange more. So always we would like that something better should come. So he has given this question to me, so I have to speak on it. So excuse me if I say too much. So first thing is like when we say that excellent, like we had to start somewhere, we have done that. We have seen we always wanted PLI. Industry always wanted that we should have production linked incentives. It has come. So while we talk about production linked incentives, we are focusing so much on renewables, and renewable we have covered on storage when we talk about lithium ion batteries or alternate chemistry batteries. We have already talked about solar panels, we have given there. But there is a in between what converts that power from the DC panel to the AC what we use. Those are the on-grid systems and off-grid systems. These on-grid, off-grid and hybrid systems, not only is the need here, but we can become big exporters for that. I have seen everywhere there is need for these hybrid systems now, because tariff for the time of the day is prevalent everywhere. So they want to store this power from the renewable energy during the low power tariff times and then use it when the power tariff is high. So we have a big scope there. Why can't we cover those kind, extend this scheme to those kind of things? That is the first request, if I can put on the table. Then when we talk about we have to become major players in electronics, so we cannot ignore components. I think 2020 we have given the PLI 1.0, what we talk about on components as well. But when we see that investment to turnover ratio, so almost it is like a FG. So FG and component cannot attract similar investment to turnover ratio. Because component, when it is to be qualified, it has a long gestation period. Even anybody has to take that components, it will take him close to a year, 8 months to qualify a component. So one is that its turnover ratio will start from the second or third year onwards, and ratio has to be different. So I think we have scope there to look into that PLI so that we support that component and the ecosystem around it. So it's not only the component. For example, if we talk about boards, one is that we have to stop somewhere if cheap boards are coming from somewhere. Second thing is that board also has various raw materials. So I think something was talked about it. How do we benefit our internal manufacturers on their raw material, because still they are dependent, because they will not make it economical if that raw material, for example, board, if they have to get 18 micron film of copper, so they will still have to import it. If they have to focus on epoxy or glass, they still have to import it. Then again, it will be a kind of assembly rather than a pure manufacturing. So our PLIs, if we can expand them to the ecosystem, I think we really can be much more beneficial. So third part, if I say, is that we are talking about sustainability. So we heard talking about sustainability. So something like to promote that, we have seen across the globe, there are green incentives for making green. There is something to promote green, because we know that when you invest on renewable, you invest on solar, payback period still has some time. It takes time to get those paybacks. If we can have those green incentives, so which can promote companies to become green, use green power. We already are 90%. We can go to 100%. We can get LEED certified. We can get IGBC certified. We can make green factories. So if we can have a level playing field in that, so if we can have those kind of improvements in those policies. So dil mange more. So lot has been done. Lot of allocation is there. Little bit more. And I think it is the need. Today we have, look at our technical manpower. We are the highest producers of technical manpower. We have more than 3,000 engineering colleges giving these young graduates. And we have so much of technical strength. We have young manpower. We cannot ignore that manpower. That's our real strength, which is already existing in our country. Infrastructure process, little bit of relief, and time has come that we will beat the entire world. Thank you.
Thank you, Raju. Thank you so much. I just want to go to Mr. Chabda and ask him. So we'll come to you after that, Mr. Chabda.
Thank you so much for your suggestions. The first question, the request that you had was inclusion of storage systems under the PLI schemes. So presently, if you see to it that we have two PLI schemes. One PLI scheme is for PLI for the mobile phones, which includes the mobile phones and some of the components for the mobile phones. That the date for applications under the both the scheme part 1 and part 2 is already over. So that part is already over. Coming back to the PLI for mobile IT hardware, wherein we have notified tablets, servers, laptops, thin clients, etc. So in that scheme, we are covering, that is limited to that only. So we cannot have any kind of window for storage systems under that. But definitely it's a, we'll look into your suggestions. You send a request to us. We'll have a look at that, whether it is really feasible to have a PLI for that. Because as you have said, that industry always wants more. So we have been receiving requests. Everyone says my product is very important, so you give me the PLI, maybe for CCTV, maybe for X product, and maybe for automotive batteries, for other batteries, and something. But definitely we'll consider a request. Second thing about the green technologies, definitely it's a welcome situation, but we have to see how it has can be implemented. Third part is about the components and their raw materials. So the ministry is already considering the specs 2.0, wherein we have still the scheme is open and for suggestions from the industry, what all kinds of components or their raw materials are to be included in the scheme, wherein we can provide the incentives. Under the specs 1.0, what we have, the incentives is of the 25% of the capex that is there. So, but you are talking about the gestation period when you say that you start manufacturing. So as of now, we haven't received any such request from the industry. But yes, we are open for suggestions. You can always say that, okay, the scheme should be open for X years and it should be, the implementation period should be Y years. So we will be more than happy to do that. Presently, we are really considering specs 2.0. So we request you to provide your inputs on that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Mr. Chabra, just coming to you.
Yeah.
You're one of a big EMS players in India. You have multiple joint ventures with a few EMS players, right? So I'm sure you have your own experiences in it, and what the government has done and what they should be doing. So we'd like to hear from you also.
Yeah, thanks, Avinash. I think I'm the last one to speak on this topic. Yeah. So first of all, thanks all my colleagues, industry colleagues, and the government department colleagues. I fully agree with you, what you mentioned. I see why India is an attractive place to be a manufacturing hub. We are just not doing manufacturing. We are actually, if you see, working on the full value chain, where we start from the making the raw material, the component in India. The government of India has started PLI on that, and manufacturing, and then creating a full ecosystem. In my lifetime, I'm seeing first time the government is becoming a partner to the industry, be it ease of working, ease of approval, fast approvals, and they are throwing money back to get the PLI in place. Not only PLI, there are other schemes which are there. I heard my colleague, he's talking about, reaching out to with the GPS or to the national road connectivity across. So these initiatives were not there few decades back. You look at the UPI scheme Sunil mentioned, you look at the startup ecosystem. No, today, the college pass out is not afraid of starting a business because he knows that there will be enough and more support from the financial institution or the government to run that. So if you look at the whole ecosystem which is provided to our next generation by this government, this transparency which has come is actually playing a big role in that. And now India is not only producing just one more product. The global organizations are not afraid of coming to India. They are seeing that India is a quality product. Our quality processes, certifications, our trainings, our standards have actually gone up. And not only the multinationals are coming up in India, setting their Indian organization are actually coming up and putting their big investments. In past few years, there is 30,000 crore investment which has come after PLI. And there is a lot of more money which is coming as an investment because there is enough of ROIC. And these products are actually, tomorrow is going to the globe. First, there is huge demand in India. 1.4 billion people, these are our strength actually. The consumption is going to be more than enough. Currently, the per capita income is around 2,250, whereas if you see the western side is $50,000 plus. This is going to increase. So the middle society people, they are going to consume more than what they have been consuming. And one of the reason is the penetration in the bandwidth internet. So looking at the complete ecosystem, be it the cost effectiveness, support from the government, creating an ecosystem, focusing on R&D, and creating a future with a green thing for our next generation is actually, I'm very much convinced that it's the right time. And believe me, we all are lucky enough that next 10 years going to be the best of Indian history's time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chhabra. I'm just going to quickly touch upon a few topics. We've got quite a few there, but I don't know if you can cover everything, but nevertheless, each of you to speak to one of them. I think let's start with, while we've spoken about the potential for electronics manufacturing, the policies and everything else, I think some of these situations like what happened during the pandemic are real world situations. It has happened, it could happen in the future. So just want to touch, Mr. Dutt, if you could take the mic, and how can we sort of be more resilient when supply chain disruptions like that happen, right? You have a big business to handle. There are a lot more devices and distribution that needs to happen. You're procuring from pretty much every part of the globe. It's a huge population that you're supplying to over here. So how do you think you should make it resilient? So let's hear from you.
So I think, in terms of the supply chain systems, we can always keep looking towards the government to provide infrastructure, etc., all of that. But at the same time, I think it's also upon us as an industry to ensure that we make use of the best technology systems to be able to attain those efficiencies. When you're talking about electronics, it's about just-in-time inventories. It's about getting the right products out to the consumers in the right point of time. Especially when you're talking about mobile phones, the fact that we are the second largest manufacturing country in the world, it also means that the consumption has been in line with that. Because it's not just about exports from this country, but also the domestic consumption, so this consumption has not happened, without the efficiency being built in the supply chain systems. I mean, I recall the time when, we were holding inventories of, maybe a few weeks or maybe a couple of months at one point of time, but now you operate on just-in-time inventories, whether it is your components, whether it is your finished goods, or whether it is, the material at the shop floor. So it has to come with improved supply chain systems. A lot has gone into it in terms of planning, in terms of how we use technology for the planning, in terms of how we use the better supply chain systems and how we sort of optimize them. So I think we need to, as an industry, we need to take our own initiatives in this and not just depend upon, what, and I'm not saying the government has not been providing the support. In fact, even to the previous point where, you know, when you said they'll mange more, of course they'll mange more. But at the same time, I would say we've not reached where we have reached without the support of the government. I think it has been forthcoming. It's only about the industry and government always working together to ensure that wherever it is required to bring in those efficiencies, we keep bringing in those efficiencies. I think that is something that is incumbent on both industry as well as the government in terms of their support.
Great, thank you. Mr. Chabra, if I heard you saying earlier of how you were taking designs from a particular location,
Yeah.
right? And that was stuck in between of some geopolitical issues.
Chipset, yeah.
That's right. And then you reverse engineered the whole thing over here. So just talk to us about that, please.
Okay. I was just trying to recall that name of the country. I still forget. So, just
I
an
think
example.
it was Belarus, right?
Belarus. Oh, thank you, man. Appreciate it. So, to my surprise, in 2021, I came to know that one of the chipset was coming from Belarus and last year, and the Russia-Ukraine war just stopped it. And there was a huge production plan. And one fine day, the factory manager said that the chipsets are not coming. We were paying advance to that country, and in spite of that, getting the advance, those were not allowed to ship. We were not allowed to buy. And end of the day, they returned our money. So this led to a big question, Avinash, that are we going to really depend on the geopolitical thing as Indian manufacturer? How much should we be depending on, you know, one side the China issue, another side the Ukraine and Russia issue? We can't live our life on the mercy of other people fighting to each other. So what we did, we went back to our R&D team and Ludhiana factory, and we did the reverse engineering. Absolutely, we knew what is the final product we were wanted to give to the market, right? So getting the back, and we found out that what are the different options available in the chipset. Basis on the chipset availability and the basic on the design application what we wanted, our team did the full reverse engineering. Not only BTEL, but most of the industries, I've seen that they did the reverse engineering. So reverse engineering is one of the feature now with the R&D folks now, that you have to see what is the best economical and suitable component available. And then you do the product reverse engineering. That's what I was talking about. That has taken away our full dependence on that Belarus.
Thank you, Mr. Chabra. It's fascinating to hear about these stories.
Thank you.
I just want to shift the tracks a little bit here to talk about FDI. Extremely important for a country like us, especially in electronics manufacturing, but we still haven't reached that level that maybe some of the other sectors have reached in FDI, right? So what more can we do or should be done to bring more FDI into the country in the electronics manufacturing? So can we start from you, Dr. Ravi Bhatkal, and why do you think, what should we be doing to get more FDI into the country? We've got everything. We've got the market, we've got the infrastructure, we've got the policies, but there's something seems to be missing here.
So I think in my mind, FDI should be smart money. And by smart money, I mean it should not just come as money. It should come with technology. It should come with knowledge. It should come with contribution from the investor. And typically that would be a multinational, for example, that would put in infrastructure, that would put in research into this country, that would collaborate with the universities in this country, and so on and so forth. So that's, if I were to pick $1 to come in here, that's the dollar I would pick. I would not only take a financial investor, I would actually look for people who bring technology, because I can tell you this, that today I mentioned financialization of savings. Do the math. 31% of 1.2 of 3.7 trillion dollars is 1.2 trillion. Financialization of even a piece of that gives you a significant amount of availability of capital. But what we really need beyond that is the technological base to accelerate what we're doing here. And so I think attracting that is perhaps the imperative at the moment, and looking across the ecosystem to bring in, a lot has been talked about components, but really looking at the wide range of that, materials, people, and the skill sets required, equipment, which is today, very, very small here, and then the activities which are design, modeling and simulation, advanced manufacturing capability, and then testing and reliability. That, structure it in such a way that those elements are attracted here and bring the smart money here. I think that's my suggestion.
Yeah.
So I think the very well said, and I also wanted to chip in this. Like when we talk about this, we want to grow electronics. So we also see that when we go to advanced power electronics, we see that we have a competence gap or we have a knowledge gap existing here. When we have to talk about advanced power electronics, we look to West, we look to China, even we look to Australia for research thing there. So we as industry, I think I was heartened to see 5G labs in engineering colleges. Similarly, I think we should have advanced power electronic labs in our engineering colleges. Industry, government, academia together has to work. So I was visiting some engineering colleges. I saw even when the course is being altered and to add certain topics, I've seen more in software. But I think we have to do similar as industry. It should be our responsibility also to align with them so that advanced power electronics also forms the subject material there. We collaborate with this academia to open those advanced power electronics lab, because today you see any high frequency system, you are either looking to Australia, you are looking to West, or you are looking to China, because internal competence and R&D technology doesn't exist. And second, if government can also support in that, we create together R&D fund or we create some system wherein we enhance this. I think it will give big boost to our electronics manufacturing dream. Thank you. Sorry to budge in.
That's okay. Thank you. I think I'm really conscious of time. We are want to leave a few minutes for audience to ask questions also. So actually, just switch gears and talk about all your vision for the industry's future. Right? How do you think this sector is going to grow? What's going to happen to the sector in the next 5 to 10 years? And how do you see things panning out? In about 2 minutes each, if you can sum up, and also if you have anything specific to speak about, please do so. So I'll just go around and come back to you last, Rajiv, because you just spoke. So Mr. Verma, let me start with you.
See, the difference which is going to happen, which will impact our life is, I will just mention a few projects which Government of India is working on. I mean, they have approved it. There are two very important projects. One is the saturate the villages through mobile phones, mobile network connectivity. So you will see very soon that all the villages in the country, they will be covered with 4G mobile signal. So in a sense, they will be provided a broadband connectivity. And this project is costing roughly around 26,000 crore. The government has approved last year. And the second big project which the government has approved this year in August, costing 1.39 lakh crore, is to saturate the villages with fiber connectivity. I mean, all villages in the country, all gram panchayats and all villages on demand, they will be provided a fiber connectivity, that is the real broadband connectivity. In addition, government has sanctioned incentive for providing 1.5 crore broadband connection to the rural households, to the rural institutions in the entire country, where the cost of the provisioning, which includes the fiber up to the user end, the modem which is to be installed at the user end, they all will be incentivized. User need not pay anything for that. They have to only pay the monthly rental. So these two things will make all villages really coming on the digital map of the country. Actual digitalization will happen in the country and it will make a big change. So that's one important, I wanted to share. Thank you.
What I can speak from my ministry point of view, basically we just interact with all the other infrastructure departments and see that the best infrastructure as far as the telecom, roadways and railways and the last mile connectivity extra is provided as far as the logistic point of view. And also as Sir has told about supply chain disruptions, I think we are a part of IPEF also, Indo Pacific Economic Framework countries of 14 countries, so that in case of any supply chain disruptions, the Korea and all the part of members of that, so they can also chip in during that time of crisis. So that as we have seen during COVID crisis, when we had a semiconductor chip crisis, it resulted into a automobile manufacture delays and all. It has a very chain effect. So only thing is the logistic we can help in the logistic supply chain resilience. That's the thing.
Okay, no, I just wanted to summarize it properly, so that I don't goof around. So as I mentioned, in the past also, what is the future for India and why India will be doing good? I mean, definitely we are one of the largest consumers. So no doubt that we will have to do good. And if you look at amongst all the other commodities and all the other, areas, whether it is infrastructure, oil, industry, steel, electronics will outpace everything. You look around yourself, how much of electronics is there in your daily life, starting from the time when you get up and when you go to bed, it's filled with electronics. So electronics has to take a center stage. And this is also embodied in the government's dream of being a digital India. So I was talking to Asha madam just a short while ago, and she said that, the government is also thinking how much more should we allocate to MIT. But because electronics will adopt a center stage as already adopted, we need more as electronics. There is a dream of 300 billion, let me say, target for electronics, which is a very impressive dream, and I'm sure that with all the efforts we will reach. But what I'm trying to say is that the market is even bigger, right? Let's aim to reach that dream, but the market is even bigger, and India should not miss that bus. And we have done fantastic job as far as mobile phones, IT hardware is concerned, and many other things in PLI schemes, spec schemes, PMPs, fantastic job done. Now we have to look at new things. So India Mobile Congress, which is aimed towards connectivity, is definitely the next step. And let's look at new applications in electronics. Let's look at education sector, which is a need for the country. Let's look at agriculture sector. Agriculture is a big market for electronics. How to measure soil temperature, soil texture, the precipitation level, how to help the farmer to grow more on the same piece of land. Agri-tech is the next for, let me say, electronics. And just to let you know, we are investing as part of our venture capital in agri-tech in India in some startup companies. And then apart from this, manufacturing technology, you have to make your manufacturing pretty robust, pretty resilient. So you can go in electronics even for predictive maintenance, so that your manufacturing is running uninterrupted 24/7 into 365. So manufacturing technology. Sensors is another where, let me say, whether it is automotive or any other area where sensors will play a huge role. We saw some sensor things on the exhibition today about the red jacket, and drones could be helping us for many, many different applications, medical sector and other things, and medical technology. So please look at all the technologies, and I'm sure electronics will set a corner stage, and we are set to grow. That's my take.
Anyway, yes, we have an ambitious target of 300 billion by 25-26, and we have identified 11 verticals wherein we want to manufacture those particular products for achieving that target of 300 billion by 25-26, which includes IT hardware, consumer electronics, automotive electronics, medical electronics, industrial electronics, strategic electronics, and components in factories. So, and through this semicon mission, we would like to set up the display fabs, the compound semiconductor fabs, the ATMPs, And through the DLI schemes, we also would like to promote the design for the semiconductors. That is what we aim at. We also would like to promote the components. We are considering specs 2.0, I just mentioned. So this specs 2.0 or the specs that we have and the various schemes wherein we have notified the components also, that will aim at increasing the value addition of the products that are manufactured in India. We talked about the resilient supply chains in the country. In fact, I would mention that COVID has been a very bad period for everyone. India has suffered a lot also, but that has taught us a lesson. Right. So we were dependent upon other countries for all the components. So after that only we decided that yes, we should go for Atmanirbhar Bharat. So we should think about that we are able to produce for at least for ourselves and if possible for also for the exports. And definitely the other thing is that we should have alternate countries for import also. And like DPIT, Mr. Srinivas also mentioned that we have an agreement called IPEF. So wherein we are saying that there are 14 countries that are partner to it. So we are it's almost on the final stages wherein we are looking at that the supply chain should be resilient. Coming back to that, what should be done next is that we would be promoting more or less all the schemes that we have notified. To maintain the transparency, all the schemes are through a portal and all the data is available on the portal. No personal intervention is required. So that nobody's, if one person goes, the other person can always look at it. And it is freely accessible to the actual manufacturer and the ministry. Ease of doing business is one important aspect that the government is considering as of now. We would like to march ahead along with the industry in promoting manufacturing. Wherever there's government support is required, we are there to support them to the extent possible. Definitely, a proposal was there for skilling in the area of power electronics. So these are some of the niche areas which are upcoming areas. So like semiconductor is, we are promoting semiconductor mission and semiconductor manufacturing in the country, but we don't have those manpowers in the country. So we have come out with that report for that how to promote that talent pool. We have launched some courses in the universities also, undergraduate courses and diploma courses also, wherein those talents would be required. We have also done an MOU with Taiwan for training in the electronics manufacturing. So, of course, that is coming to an end next year. But yes, we are working towards skilling the manpower and training the manpower for all the areas that we are manufacturing. Thank you.
Yes, exactly. I'll actually add one more assignment for ma'am. And it's actually, I'll take this opportunity to make a recommendation. So I'd like to talk about this policy which is known as PMA, Preferential Market Access, which is mostly to do with government procurement. I think my recommendation, I think it's a great, first of all, policy to encourage the domestic vendors. But today we feel that it's very lopsided. Almost 80 to 100% of the business is purely reserved for domestic manufacturers, and it's connected to the value addition they create, which is good. But my plea is that, when I go to my management and invite investments to India, the first thing they ask is, why should we invest in India when you cannot even address the local market? So my recommendation is to have a linkage between PMA and PLI. If I achieve PLI incentives, give me an opportunity to participate in X% of the tender. So PMA to PLI linkage is what my recommendation would be.
So he took the opportunity to give his recommendation. Okay. So to sum up, Avinash, to make India the most attracted manufacturing hub for the globe in coming years, I think I want to divide into three parts. First is innovation, second is collaboration, and third is sustainability. So innovation, we all speak about the technology actually sitting outside. So we have to focus more on having the big focus on the R&D, having the IPR sitting in India. That is one of the initiative which government is also putting through DLI scheme, which is far more welcomed. We also started putting more of R&D folks within our company. So we have to focus on how we can innovate, how we can resonate with the top universities, or like Asha ma'am, she explained that they are going to launch some courses in India. That should be the objective, that our next generation, they should be professionally ready. And those IPRs, those things should sit in India. That should be innovation we must be looking. Second part is the collaboration as industry. We have to collaborate with academia, we have to collaborate more with government now, and we have to collaborate more with the technology partner outside world. We should not ignore them, right? At some of the technologies, they are far ahead than us, so we have to learn those technologies also. This collaboration is going to play a big role as if you want to become a manufacturing hub for the future. And the third part is the sustainability. We all talk about green, we talk about low carbon. We have to see that our next generations, next future people, they don't have to suffer all these issues which we have been facing time to time. So all the manufacturing facility we set up, all the processes we set up, should be in such a way that they should see the full sustainability for many decades. That's our responsibility as Indian. And I'm sure with all these ecosystem, with cost effectiveness, with good quality, and all these things will lead to a great future for all of us.
Thank you so much. Pastor Mr. Dutt, during your HP days, there will always be quarterly pressure of selling laptops and desktops, and everybody's running around to do that, right? Do you think that will become easier in the future, in the next 5-10 years, when you don't have to worry about it? People will just buy it off the shelves?
I think that's a topic we can discuss some other time. But I tend to agree with what Sanjeev said in terms of the collaboration, and whether it is on the technology partners or academia or industry and the government all coming together. I think that, and I wouldn't want to repeat that, but I think that's one critical part that Sanjeev mentioned, and that is this is going to propel us, moving forward. And I think it is also happening. It is happening. I mean, I can speak for ourselves that we collaborate very closely in our Reliance Life Sciences with IIT Kanpur. Geo Institute collaborates very closely with AICTE, and so that's happening. It's happening at an individual level, but I think if it can be institutionalized, I think it would make more sense for the entire industry. To what Mr. Verma mentioned, that's kind of music in terms of connecting all villages of this country and connecting all people of this country. And I think as an industry, we are also working towards ensuring that every Indian, all 140 crore Indians are connected, and not just connected to a legacy technology, but to 4G technology. And that is something that, because if we're talking about healthcare, we're talking about agriculture, we are talking about animal care, we are talking about all of that. All of it depends upon that connectivity, which is extremely critical for every Indian, no matter which village this person is living in. And since we are already committed to that, and we are already working towards all of those, even from the very basic perspective, what we were discussing before we came in, we are also manufacturing, those mobile devices on 4G, on which we have enabled that, the network and the device we've optimized in a manner that we can reduce the price of the device to such an extent that a present 2G feature phone user is able to actually shift to 4G and get far more benefits than what he or she is getting today. And so that they can get connected, they can get connected to the world, which today they are not. So they can actually figure out what's happening in the world, because it helps to change. As I was trying to summarize, we're too large a country. We are too young a country. We're too rapidly growing a country to be depending upon external systems for manufacturing, to be depending upon other countries for manufacturing, to be depending upon a Belarus to be able to supply us those. So we're too rapidly growing to be depending upon somebody else. And we're too large a consuming country for that. And with all the kind of youth, young talent that we have in this country, I think the only way forward for all of us is we are dependent upon ourselves, we manufacture for ourselves, and we manufacture for the world. For that, whatever is required between the government and the industry and the academia to come together to make it happen, along with technology transfers as a part of that dollar which is coming into the country, I think that is going to be critical for all of us. It's too large to, it's a kind of a motherhood statement, but I think individually when we work on each of those components is when we'll be able to bring the whole big picture together.
Very well said. Very well said. Thank you so much. Dr. Ravi, you said your company has been in India for 92 years, right? I don't want to, the next 100 years is too far along to think about it, but what do you think is going to happen in the next 10 years at least?
I was just thinking about that as everyone else was speaking. So I would love to see, we're at 100 billion now. I'd love to see us at $1 trillion in 10 years. It's not unreasonable. It's really not unreasonable. It can be done. So, and further, I would say localization of the entire ecosystem. You got people, materials, components, equipment, design, modeling and simulation, manufacturing, testing and reliability. Bring all that across the entire ecosystem, you'll achieve that.
Perfect. Thank you. Rajiv, some last words from you.
So I think, I echo, like we have to be 1 trillion, and to do that, we have to have smart and resilient supply chains. So resilience, we have only one way, is that make in India, Atmanirbhar Bharat. That is the best resilience we can think of. And to do that, I think we all have to see, like we have proven to the world, we are very good assemblers. We have proven that in manufacturing, the most productive assembly we can do. But now we have to go deep into real manufacturing, wherein we manufacture components, we have our own R&D, we have our own power electronics, and we have all the ecosystem around that. And all our schemes, they are progressive so that tier 2 and tier 3 can also use those schemes. Then only we can have that ecosystem so that we have sustainability in our manufacturing systems.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. I just want to audience 1 or 2 questions. Yeah. I'd like you to introduce yourself, your name, your company, and then ask your question, please.
Hello everyone, my name is Vaibhav and I'm the founder of WatchMe. It's a wearable device for kids and seniors. So we have made the algorithm, the OS, everything is ours. 50% Atmanirbhar hai. But in terms of manufacturing, it's like कि Nehru Place से PC components लेकर PC assemble किया and we are installing Windows on it. And then we are selling computer. Okay, but the hardware part. Now on the hardware part, so I'm IT Kharagpur alumni. I've been working on it. निर्भया incident के बाद बहुत सोचा. मैं पूरी कहानी अभी यहाँ नहीं सुनाना चाहता. But hardware में 2 चीज आती है. We are a pre-revenue startup. It's a tracking device. घर के बाहर ही जरूरत है. कोरोना में मार्केट ही खत्म हो गया. अब उसके बाद पिछले से 1 साल हुआ है, स्कूल शुरू हुए हैं. So we are trying to catch our feet, जो है stand up on our feet. इसमें when we get on to the hardware side, तो we 50% आत्मनिर्भर हो गए. But hardware side में you try to get your own reference design, as I said, do our own R&D. The bottleneck is the license fees for the big manufacturers. जैसे MediaTek has about $500,000. They expect for the initial license fees, just so that we can start to use their processor. Same thing with Spectrum. Okay, I'm not even talking about Intel and others. Then when we come to importing and assembling here, as a MSME, and right now I'm a pre-revenue startup, so I'm a micro MSME. So I'm not a big company right now. अब वहाँ पे different, for example, EPR in terms of customs, for different components, for battery, I need to get a battery EPR. बैटरी प्लास्टिक में कवर होकर आएगी, कस्टम्स का ये सर प्लास्टिक का भी EPR लगेगा. तो how to do it? मतलब it's quite difficult to deal with that. We are I would like to with my folded hands कि कुछ करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं, but इतना ज़्यादा रेगुलेशन है इसमें कि we are really मतलब अभी मेरा 1000 पीस इसमें आने वाला है and we are going to launch it. So if we can think of R&D and let's say the hardware ecosystem, where small startups who are trying to get into product, so they can make themselves totally Atmanirbhar as far as the hardware is concerned. So that's what my initial.
So your specific question is, how do you manage with all of these regulations and as a small company? Maybe you need a PM Gati Shakti for them. Do you want any specific person to answer it, or?
So you have a specific concern regarding the EPR that Ministry of Environment and Forest provides for importing any of the devices. First thing is that they have listed out if I'm not wrong, 109 items for which EPR is required. So if your product falls under that domain, definitely they'll look for EPR authorization. Basically, it is that how e-waste would be disposed and who would be responsible over that. Coming to their second point is your plastic waste management. So both the rules are handled by Ministry of Environment and Forest. So as of now, if they have to create any kind of provision for micro SME, SME or MSME, or for any kind of provisions, so you have to take it up with them only. They would be the authority to say these industries should be exempted based on maybe on quantity, maybe on a turnover, or maybe on for R&D or whatever purpose. So kindly take it up with them, send a communication to them. And if you want, you can send a copy to us also with all the details that why you should be exempted for that. So we'll be happy to take it with the with MOEF now. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I'm going to just take one more question. If there's some, anybody? No? Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much, all of you panel members. It's been a privilege, a really big privilege to host all of you here. Thank you from the audience, from the organizers, and all of us. I think there's just one photograph, and they want to hand over a memento to each one of you for being here.